What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Screencast. Today, we are going to start off by giving a spoiler-free review of Cobra Kai, the series finale. And then we're going to get into full spoilers for our spoiler cast of the show, season as a whole, all of it. Everything Cobra Kai, Karate Kid, Miyagi-verse, all of it will be spoiled, and it's going to be a great time. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by It's Christmas in February, Joey Noel.
Welcome to the Valley, bitch.
God,
I love this show.
And rounding us out today, it is the producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Oh, haven't you heard, Tim? Cobra Kai never dies.
It really doesn't, man. I'm bummed out because Josh McCouga cannot join us today. He's out gallivanting the world. But me and Nick have gotten more than our fair share of text. The amount of people that have been texting me about this show, I think, is unrivaled. Like, it reminds me of like the hype around Endgame or something. But like everyone knows, I guess they just know that I'm a fucking sicko like this. But it's so funny. Like I have no less than 10 different group threads talking about it, and it's like, yeah, man, it's fantastic stuff. And Nick, I just want to thank you because you were the one that brought Cobra Kai and Karate Kid into my life. And I am now a better person having seen the most epic karate saga of our time.
It is, I mean, the most
only?
epic. I don't even think you
there?
need the word karate in that.
You're right.
If I'm being real with
You're
you.
right.
Because I have a lot of emotions about this franchise. Because Cobra Kai is just everything. And I don't mean that
Top
in
level.
the common parlance of everything. I mean, it is 120% melodramatic, cheesy, way too over the top when it comes to the sort of like soap opera nature of it. But somehow, the sum of all of those parts create this incredibly special and unique thing. If you were to break them down moment to moment, there's just so much to criticize about this. But by the end of it, I'm just in love with this. And it gave me, when you finish everything, it just gives you that feeling of like, wow, I just had a moment. We just witnessed a moment. We just went through this thing together, and it was heartfelt and it meant something to people. And it's like the little engine that could, you know what I mean? Ah, so good.
So freaking good. Let me get through the rigmarole real quick here, though. This is the Kind of Funny Screencast where we get together to talk about the latest in TV, movies, and trailers. Of course, you can get that on podcast services. Search for Kind of Funny in Review. That's where you'll find all of our in review series and all of our screencasts on one podcast feed. You can also watch it on YouTube if you'd prefer to do that. If you want to go above and beyond, you can get the Kind of Funny membership on YouTube, Patreon, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. It gets you the shows ad-free. You can watch live as we record them, and you get a daily exclusive show. It's great, and a lot of people would recommend it, just like our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, and Karen Lindner. We appreciate all of you so very much. Little housekeeping for you. This isn't all the screencast action for you this week, or even today. Me and Nick just recorded our review of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and I would highly recommend checking out.
I can't see any of it. You're not. The camera's not on you.
I would highly recommend checking out the show and our screencast talking about it all. If you're on the fence for the show, check out the spoiler-free bits of the screencast, and then go check out the show. Spoiler alert, it's phenomenal. It's really, really good. Is Cobra Kai? We'll have to wait and see, everybody. The answer is yes. If you're a Kind of Funny member, of course, you can get today's Greg Way. Today, we're brought to you by Built Rewards, Factor, and Stash, but we'll tell you all about that later. Let's get into it. Cobra Kai, the series finale after 65 episodos of this show.
Over how many years?
I mean, it started in what, 27?
Well, Miguel is 45
18.
years old now.
Yeah, YouTube Red premiere on season 1, May 2nd, 2018. Then it was eventually released on Netflix on January 1st, 2021.
It was a YouTube Red premiere that I had to borrow Andy's login to watch.
Yeah.
That's how wild this
YouTube
series
Red doesn't
is.
even exist
It's
anymore.
YouTube Premium now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think are they making any
Premium originals?
content?
Not like that anymore. Definitely not.
It's
Like
definitely
the
more
original
like
push.
YouTube-y stuff, I feel like, and less show stuff.
What's weird is I should go back and watch the first few episodes of that, because it's like barely good enough for Netflix, like the quality of it is. But even back then, it started off from such a good
had the heart
perspective.
It had the heart. Again, spoiler free. Nick, I want to start with you. What did you think about how this wrapped up, this karate saga?
I think this is a victory lap for them. I think they know who they're writing this series for. They themselves, the creators, have often said, hey, we're fans first and foremost. We're writing this for us. We're writing this for you. This is going to wrap up how you want it to wrap up. And it's going to be I think it's very, very fulfilling. I think it's very validating. And I think it is a nice, I don't want to say farewell for a lot of these characters, because I'm sure maybe we'll see them again. Who knows? But for the Johnny LaRusso saga, I think they did them justice. And it was a very, very fitting end for everything.
Joy.
I loved it. I was really critical of the 3-part season release strategy, and I kind of get it. I think it's structured well enough to support that, and I think they did a really good job of having a good timeline for those 3 parts, so it didn't feel. I'm thinking of Stranger Things, where you get years and years and years between them.
Yeah, I don't even know where we're at with Stranger Things anymore.
Right? Exactly. Are we ever going to get that
They
last
were
season?
in Russia, right?
I don't know, man. He fought the Demogorgon somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tim, you're gonna love it.
But yeah, I think that they did a really good job. I will give Cobra Kai credit and say that I think that the Johnny Lawrence arc that they were able to accomplish from episode 1 to the end of the episode is truly one of the most impressive things that they could have done, and they did it in a way that was so true to the character in every way. Johnny is still very much him, but you get to see him evolve in such a way that I never would have guessed from watching Karate Kid 1. Who would have thought that we would have ended up here? And I'm so grateful that we are alive in the time that this happened, that we got to watch it as it happened.
Well, certainly not the original writers. I don't think they wrote Johnny. I don't think they wrote Johnny to be as 3-dimensional and as deep as we're finding him here. But that is the power of the series, right? That is where we started off from, and it's such a unique and interesting place to explore. Tim, what'd you think of the finale?
I don't think it's going to surprise anybody that I utterly adored what they did with this entire season. Honestly, Joey bringing up this, most seasons were 10 episodes. This season's 15 because they broke it into 3 5-episode chunks. And now that they were done, we see where we got. I really feel like they had as much fun as possible with that format of just being all right, this is our last chance. Let's just do it all. I think overall, looking at the show with how many seasons it's had, it does in the middle start to get a little bit blurry in a very Fast and Furious type way of, all right, which season was the one where they did this? And
what was the school fight? What was the house fight?
Exactly.
All of those
It's
kinds of
some of that stuff starts to get
the forest brawl
lost a little bit, And I do feel like there was a couple moments throughout the show, the big this is spoilers just from older stuff in this. The big Terry Silver mansion fight. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That really did kind of feel like it could have been the show could have ended there.
Definitely.
And we'd already seen a couple of I guess a couple All Valley tournaments. A lot has happened at that point. So I feel like that very much was their Fast 5 moment for me of just oh, wow. Okay. All the things that came before, we've hit this point.
Yeah.
And then the last couple seasons, did kind of feel like they're just let's keep this going, and I love it. I still love Fast and Furious, but admittedly, it's definitely not as good anymore. And it definitely has jumped the shark too many times in too many directions. This show managed to do all of that. I think that the second part of the season in particular was but what if we did it all? It reminds me a lot of Fast 9. They went to space.
Yeah.
The Sekai Taikai, however you want to say it.
The plethora of options you have for pronouncing it.
It was wild. That was definitely as far as you can actually push karate in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But then,
especially with how they ended the second part.
Exactly. But then you get to the last part, and I really think that they stuck the landing. They took all of that and made it all add up for character bits, dynamics between people, and just stories that they've been telling literally for decades at this point. And it was beautiful. This show was beautiful. We need to get him, William Zabka, an Emmy. He deserves it for the show, but for this season, or this bit of the season in particular, I don't think any of us saw that coming.
I certainly did not. And I think you're spot on, right? Because I think there's a lot of the seasons, the first and second season, I really feel are are like Cobra Kai Prime, right? That's where we're telling the story, the redemption arc of Johnny. But we take a break from that for a really long time. We have a lot of interesting fillers, and the kids become the main characters, right? The Miguels, the Robbies, the Tories. Those characters sort of become, and the Sam, they become the main characters, and they kind of take a backseat to. And then Daniel's kind of in there too, even though Daniel really doesn't. This really isn't his story.
Not at all.
And so I think that the creators were like, we know where we're going to end this. But people want more, so we're going to give them more. We're going to tell more stories. We're going to have a lot of different dynamics between these kids. We're going to introduce more dojos, all of these things. But by the time we get to these 5 episodes, you can tell they were like, we had this figured out from the end.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, it's not Miyagi-Do. It's not the Karate Kid. It's Cobra Kai. And it's Johnny's story. And it's really, to me, that was the one thing that they needed to stick the landing on that one, and they absolutely did.
They absolutely did. And thus ends our spoiler-free thoughts on Cobra Kai. Go watch it. I'm at this point, if you had any interest in Cobra Kai, you've already seen this thing. I don't think anybody out there is like, I made it to season 5, but I gave up. It's like, no. You were in all the way through. But now let's get into spoilers. Where should we start?
Oh, gotta pull up my notes now.
I mean, I think we should start at the beginning of this, right? In that we leave last season and someone dies.
with a murder.
Which I forgot.
I don't really know.
I totally forgot.
I could never
because
forget.
the middle of the season
could
to
you
me is
forget?
because it's murky and weird. And candidly, I don't love the show it's not grounded to begin with, but it became so untethered from reality with the Sekai Takai or Sekai Taikai, however, depending on if you're a German announcer saying it or if you're Terry Silver, who obviously no one told how to say this. God bless the actor. We started to lose the thread a little bit when we started to get into Mortal Kombat territory with the various senseis and these like super powered freaking kids and all
They
this
literally were playing Smash Brothers in real life. Like,
Yes.
for
All of
part
the
of this
platform
karate tournament,
stuff?
they're on a platform, and it's if you get knocked off the platform, what the fuck are we
you
talking?
die, right? So I didn't love that about the middle season, right? I don't love, because to me, okay, dialing it back a little bit, Karate Kid was not about being a world champion, right? It wasn't even about being a state champion.
No.
As the song says, it was just about being the best around. It was really just the All Valley
Yeah.
Rec Center,
Mhm.
right? And it really wasn't about karate, right? It was about overcoming these inner demons with you, being able to figure out how to deal with a bully, and really just kind of standing up to that sort of adversity and overcoming it. And karate was just the mechanism in which they do that, right? So when you start,
Tales old as time.
it's wonderful, right? It's Rocky. It's all these things. It's just proving that you have what it takes, right? You got the stuff. So when we start getting a little straying away from that, I think we start losing sort of the main thread and the heart of what this is. By the time we get to the Sekai Takai, I don't think they had the budget necessarily to have it feel really big, and I don't think they should have done that. It's fun. It's stupid. There's platforms. Why? It doesn't matter. They're having fun. They're being creative. But I love that they found a reason for one more fight to bring it back to the valley.
And
How did the Sekai Taikai end up in the valley?
because it's the only way it could
they
happen.
left it
They
to
needed
Daniel.
every single sensei. Like, I love how stupid that is, but I mean, they set it up. Like, I think you're right, Nick. They clearly worked backwards from the end of this. They're like, we know this has to end in the valley. We know this has to end with Johnny getting Cobra Kai back, with Miguel back in black. And they did all of that. When we watched the second to last episode of this, of the series, and
Is that like the training montage and all that?
no. That's when we get
that
the
the last-
finals of the
Okay.
tournament, and we get Miguel winning. We get Tori winning.
Yes.
And Miguel, I think. And then they're like, oh, there's a tie or whatever.
There's time.
Oh,
So-
got it. Okay, yeah.
How are we going to settle the tie? The senseis are going to fight. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's beautiful.
Even before that, so dialing it back, right? The idea of like, we have a logistical problem here in that Johnny needs his redemption arc to be complete. And really the thing that has held him back was that two things. One, he lost in 84. But if he had a sensei that was like, a mentor, an actual father figure to him, he would have said, brush it off. Let's take it in 85, right? And Johnny could have gone forward, but he was stinted. He had arrested development from that point on. So they did something very, very interesting where they were like, that's the heart of this. That's the thematic like plot of this. What's the nuts and bolts? How we have to get Johnny Cobra Kai back. We got to get him back in the gi. But never in my fucking wildest imagination would I have thought he is actually going to step onto the mat as a Cobra Kai and fight again for the world championship of the Sekai Takai.
Against Wolf.
Against Wolf.
It's like, and when we see Wolf start to move, and it's slow-mo, but I'm like, is it, or is he just moving that way? Like, it's like, Johnny Lawrence, you are absolutely fucked. But what does he do, Nick? He listens to Daniel LaRusso, Miyagi's, all of it. He sweeps the leg. Like, it's art. You cannot get higher art than this.
Like, he sweeps the leg. But
we just brush over the fact that he asks Johnny to be his sensei.
Daniel to be his
or
sensei.
Daniel, sorry, that's what I meant.
Oh my God.
He asked Daniel to be a sensei. So dialing it back, right? And I think this is genius because we have to dial it back to I think, the best scene, I think, in the entire series, right? Which is Kreese has this amazing arc as well.
God.
We haven't even talked about Kreese.
We'll talk about Kreese. But
Seriously.
Kreese, I think, we brought it back from being completely cartoonish villain to being a little bit more grounded.
Because he broke out of a prison.
He sure did.
I don't know that
So I think
I
he's
would
committed
call
murder a couple times.
last episode Terry Silver grounded.
Well, that's what I'm
but-
going to say. We're going to go, this is the grounded moment, and then we're going to go 150 miles per hour the other way when we get to the no mercy moment, which we'll talk about in a second. But we have this wonderful scene that's actually, I think, the best scene in the entire series, in my opinion. We've had great moments between Daniel, but we've really never seen these two have this moment, and it's Kreese and Johnny, and they're standing there, and Johnny's like, you let me down, man. Like, you have no fucking idea how hard it was for me after that, and the only person in my life that should have helped me assaulted me, essentially, right? And he goes, and they cry in each other's arms, and he says, I'm sorry, son. Like, I should never have done that to you. I can never make that up to you. And that's the moment where I paused, and I turned to my wife, who at this point has laughed at me multiple times and is not paying attention to this at all. But she's just there for emotional support to hold my hand through this incredible moment. And I said, babe, what's the name of this series? She goes, I don't know. I was like, is it called Miyagi-Do? She goes, I don't think so. I was like, no, babe. It's called Cobra Kai. And it dawned on me that he's just going to go back to where he started.
And it's
and fight for Cobra and get Cobra Kai back because John Kreese is the sensei of Cobra Kai.
It's so good.
It's
and
so stupid good.
When we start getting to the parking lot of the All Valley, immediately I'm like, oh my God, this is where in the beginning of Karate Kid 2, he assaults Johnny.
Yeah.
Like, this is so, like, this fucking franchise took any opportunity it had to flashback and to show you.
Had to.
And we've
more
gotten,
flashbacks.
We've
than
literally, if you watch
possibly
Cobra
could.
Kai without watching the Karate Kid movies, don't worry. You will see the entirety of each of those movies through the court, like literally see
Every
it.
character comes back.
Every single one.
Including Mr. Miyagi.
But we get to a point where the show starts flashbacking to itself.
My
and
favorite.
It's so good when we get through all the Kreese and Johnny stuff that's just so damn good. But then seeing how Johnny does justice to Miguel and seeing him be the sensei that Miguel needs, be the father. He becomes the father
becomes literally his
of
father.
Miguel.
Yeah.
Literally. It's so beautiful. And seeing the entire final fight with Miguel,
Oh, flashing back.
flashing back to
Doing
every
all
move
everything
you
he's
learned throughout the entire show. It's like,
So cool.
holy crap, man. And it really shows you, like, Johnny's got the stuff, man.
He's got the stuff. And we'll dial it back for a second. Let's talk about Robbie and Sam. They have arcs. And Sam's arc is interesting because if you go back and watch originally, like, she did not want really any part of this. She came to karate for various different reasons, right? And I you know, having a character sort of be like, I don't want to fight could be a very cheap, you know, tool to use to get that character out of the narrative. But I honestly think it worked in this. I honestly think she was like, I'm kind of beyond this. I don't need this anymore in my life. I've been accepted to a college that I want to go to. I'm doing this cool Okinawa program. I've just got shit. Karate has given me all this stuff. I guess it's made me focus. It's brought me close to my dad. I don't need this, and Tori does need this. And so I feel like that was great. Robbie, on the other hand, getting his knee blown out.
Oof.
That was a tough one, but obviously, again, if you want to go back to who the real two main characters are of this show, it is Miguel and it is Johnny, and Miguel needed to get back on that mat. Not nearly because he at least comes close to matching the weight of Iron Dragon character.
Name was
God.
Axel.
But because, he's, we see all those moments with him when he's a little baby and learning and like winning the first All Valley tournament against Robbie and actually like putting Cobra Kai on the map. And we needed to have him win this.
Recovering from his
from a
freaking
broken
broken
back.
Remember when he
back.
got kicked off down the stairs off of a balcony?
Yeah.
I still think that in terms of like emotional moments, I'm with you. The Johnny Kreese moment is like, I think peak.
top tier.
But in terms of just my favorite moment of Cobra Kai, period, it's the high school fight.
Oh, the high school
The
fight
high
was
school,
wild.
because that was the first time that we really saw them go like all out.
Here's the one
100%,
shot. We're
yeah.
going crazy.
The
Second
house
place,
fight was-
mansion fight.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was a fun one. I love the scene with Robbie and his dad with Johnny, where Johnny's like, Robbie's like, I gave it my all. It just wasn't enough. I lost. And Johnny realizing that he now has that moment to be the Kreese that he never had. And he's like, you know what, kid, you're taking this great. You're taking this way better than I did. You're going to get through this. You will fight again. He goes, I know. I know this is just this day. You lose, we win. That's just karate.
And that is said because Daniel is Johnny's sensei now, and he uses Rocky to inspire
Of
him.
course
Yeah.
he does.
It doesn't matter if you win or
The
lose.
only
Rocky
way to
didn't
get to-
win.
Yeah.
The only way to get to Johnny Lawrence is through 80s movies. We know this.
And like him saying like and he doesn't win, but he goes to Adrian or whatever, and then we see Johnny do the exact same thing, and I'm like, holy crap, man! This is so the training montage where we finally get
So
you're the
good.
best. Like 6 seasons of not getting it
On
like,
the same
do it.
beach, on the same pylons that they
Splashing around.
Well, it's Rocky. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was hilarious, Rocky too. But I love that they're on the pylons where they train the crane kick.
Yep.
And I love they have that wonderful crane kick moment that, look, this kick is not a useful move to do in any sort of fight. Don't do this. You're going to get destroyed. But thematically, I love it because it represents the difference between Johnny. Really is the difference between Johnny's style and Daniel's style. Daniel being more defensive. And obviously, remember, Miyagi was always said, like, karate is not for fighting. It's for defense only. Like, you're not supposed to be fighting with this. This is just to defend yourself, right? And so we have that wonderful moment where he's like, how am I supposed to beat him? And he's like, you got to listen to me. First off, there's a moment of this where Daniel, like, with Johnny, they introduced Johnny as as who's fighting for Cobra Kai and his sensei, Daniel LaRusso. And Daniel comes out in the black sleeveless Cobra Kai gi with the Miyagi-Do headband on. And it is a perfect
I just got chills.
culmination of everything, right? Chosen
This shit
obviously there as
means
well.
something, man.
Yeah.
They walk out and Johnny's like, I'm going to do this, but Johnny doesn't necessarily have the stuff. Now, the one missed opportunity here that they never did, and I was waiting for it and they didn't do it. I get it. We want to use our words. But I was at some point when Miguel was losing steam, I straight up thought Johnny was going to slap his hands and
Yeah.
go, focus.
Yeah.
He never did. It's unfortunate. Maybe we'll get it later. Who knows? If not, I'll go back and watch Karate
It
Kid.
does seem like a weird, for a show that like hits all of those key points, it is weird that they didn't do that.
They missed that one
I mean,
point.
I think they used that moment or like that reference bit in the Robbie back in the locker room where it's just like, oh, can we like warm him up or whatever it is? I know it doesn't work that way. Like,
Yeah.
I think that was them like
Trying to get
alluding
there.
to that era.
So I love we get in this fight, we get obviously Johnny's redemption, but as Johnny's faltering, we get Daniel realizing that for the last time, hopefully, that he does need to meet Johnny halfway. And being a sensei doesn't necessarily mean you have to tailor that to your fighter, right? Because Chosen says you have to say something to him, and Daniel's like, I've said all the stuff. I've said the Miyagi, like, wait for him to come to you, all the stuff, like defense is best offense, whatever. Chosen's like, it's not working. You have to talk to him on his level. And Daniel finally realizes that he needs to really just do Johnny to Johnny.
Yeah.
And he has a great moment here that I wrote down, Tim. What dojo are you fighting for, Tim? Does defeat exist in that dojo?
Oh my God.
Does fear exist in that dojo? I sure as shit know pain doesn't exist in that dojo either. So stop acting like a little pussy and get out there and kick the living shit out of that asshole. Came out of Daniel LaRusso's mouth.
Oh my
Whoever would have
God.
thought?
And it's great. And it's what
great.
Johnny needed, because Johnny needed to realize. And then, of course, we have the one more moment where Johnny, they're squaring off. It's the final point. How the point structure works in the Sekai Sekai is beyond me. I don't understand. Is it a 5 points? Is it as many points?
It was 5 points for or 3 points
But for
for
this
the
final thing, it's
kids.
just one,
for the
whatever.
senseis, yeah.
Best out of 3, whatever. Or first of 3, whatever.
Whatever they want to do.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's whatever's good for the narrative, for the action. So we have that moment, right, where he's waiting and he sees the guy waiting and Johnny's about to strike because Johnny strikes first and strikes hard, right? But he realizes, no, I got to do what Daniel said to do. I got to hang back for a second, wait this guy, and then he sweeps the leg.
Sweeps the leg.
Not only does he sweep the leg, but he does the original kick up that Johnny did back in the day that I always tried to do and pull my back out really hard.
So bad. But the way that they frame the shot and it just cuts to that, like I love that. To say it wasn't indulgent is the complete opposite of the truth, but it wasn't indulgent in the way of like, we're going to let the whole scene play out and like remind you whatever. It just flashes almost. And you just see them in the same place where Johnny was in 1984. And like, again, we're now talking about this like as the actors, like how special it is that they were able to accomplish this show and to take a silly fan theory of Johnny actually being the good guy or whatever and delivering it this well. Like, it was so satisfying to see the way that they're in the fucking All Valley gym and like they do it and him sweeping the leg. But the moment to me that I was like, God damn, this is one of my favorite things forever. And they've cemented it is you're all right, Lawrence.
Killed me.
Oh my God. They pulled that off and they deserved it.
Yeah.
Truly like the perfect bookend, I think.
You're all right, Lawrence. Good.
So good. We're going to keep talking about Cobra Kai after a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Built. Y'all already know I'm a big points and rewards guy, but here's a PSA for anyone who rents. If you haven't heard of Built, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Built. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you will earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/kindafunny. That's joinbilt.com/kindafunny. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/kindafunny to start earning points on your rent payments today. That's BILT. This episode's brought to you by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Greg Miller's been loving how simple it is to enjoy his Factor meals as he's rushing between shows each day here at Kinda Funny. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Multiple people here at Kinda Funny have been loving their experience with Factor, and you can too. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. This podcast is brought to you by Stash. Saving and investing can feel impossible, but with Stash, it's not just a reality, it's easy. Stash isn't just an investing app. It's a registered investment advisor that combines automated investing with dependable financial strategies to help you reach your goals faster. They'll provide you with personalized advice on what to invest in based on your goals, or if you want to just sit back and watch your money go to work, you can opt into their award-winning expert-managed portfolio that picks stocks for you. Stash has helped millions of Americans reach their financial goals and starts at just $3 per month. Don't let your savings sit around. Make it work harder for you. Go to get.stash.com/kindafunny to see how you can receive $25 towards your first stock purchase and to view important disclosures. That's get.stash.com/kindafunny. Paid non-client endorsements, not representative of all clients and not a guarantee. Investment advisory services offered by Stash Investments LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk. Offer is subject to T&Cs. Oftentimes, I talk about Cobra Kai and I talk about Fast and Furious either separately, but more often than not together because of their similarities for why I appreciate it.
They both happen in LA.
And I mean, honestly, like it is funny that I think Fast and Furious fumbled way harder, but it's probably going to end in LA. It's probably going to
I
feel
guarantee it ends in LA.
similar to what they tried to do or what they did here, where the final part of the season very much was a sequel to seasons 1 and 2 of Cobra Kai, as opposed to, I mean, it was still the whole show, but it very much had the spirit of seasons 1 and 2 more so than the rest of it. But in Fast and Furious, I got infatuated with a character named Han. All right. I look to him as just one of my favorite media characters ever. Love the guy. Want to see him in more things. When I was lucky enough to watch Karate Kid 3 during in review, I fell in love with a character named Terry Silver.
Yeah, you did.
And he's a bad guy, but he is the Han of villains to me.
Yeah,
And this show delivered Terry Silver so much better than they had any right to do. When he re-shows up in part 2 of this season, when he's in the hot tub.
After
and
he's
The hot tub at the
escaped
Embassy
prison.
Suites.
And yes, yes.
It's not even a nice hot tub. It's
No.
like, you shouldn't go in that hot tub. You're going to get something from that
Amazing. And his entire arc throughout the Sakai, him fighting, when it was the all-out brawl and the kid dies, that shit was insane. But we need to talk about the end of Terry Silver.
We do.
Was this before? Oh,
'Cause
so
it's
this is
also-
after he almost kidnapped Johnny Lawrence from work.
It's also inherently the end of Dennis.
Right.
Beloved character.
Beloved
character,
character
Dennis.
Dennis. And also, it's the end of Kreese as well. Kreese
But
going
is
out.
it? Is it the end of? Is it the end of any of these characters?
I mean, I think it is. I think that
but
that
based on Fast and Furious rules,
You're right, but based on Cobra Kai Miyagi-verse rules, like the level of explosion that they showed, I'm not talking about the quality of the explosion,
Oh,
but the level
If
of
it
explosion.
had been any better, would it be Cobra Kai?
You're right. You're right.
Was that even a real yacht? Who knows?
This entire setup of them being on the freaking yacht, already hilarious. They send this guy, the one of the bully kids from 3, hey, go kidnap. Like, what are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
he has a wonderful line too where he goes, like busting up a flower shops, that's one thing, but kidnapping and potentially killing someone, a little crazy.
But he's down. He's ready to go.
he's like,
And
man,
I
I
was
got
like,
this yacht when you die, so I guess it's worth it.
I had this moment where I'm like, we don't have enough TV show left for them to deal with this arc. Like,
Yeah.
what are they going to do here? And then he gets thrown down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, Kreese is on the boat. Oh my
Killed.
God.
Kreese commits his third murder.
Great.
Of the series. Or
Great.
whatever
That
it
we
is.
know of.
Yeah, he helped kill the old man for his mentee.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He killed this person. I think he might have committed another murder somewhere along the line. He definitely broke out of prison. But I'll tell you guys something. Look, as grounded as the Johnny Kreese moment was, this is what this series deserved.
Yes.
It is a absurd, stupid, cheap, and completely fitting end for Terry Silva and John Kreese. Especially, I was like, oh, he's gonna blow up or he's gonna light him on fire, right? But Tim, never in my imagination, my wildest dreams, could I have ever heard this exchange playing out in real life for two amazing actors. Warriors fight with honor. No. Warriors fight with whatever they have. No! Mercy. It just explodes. Again, I pause and I look to my wife, who is at this point like on her third article on Apple News. And I'm like, it was perfect.
A lesser show
It's
could not
perfect.
pull this scene off.
This
A better
clearly
show
did.
could not pull this scene
No,
off.
it had to be right in the middle ground.
Cobra
This-
Kai, it just has that perfect, it's balance. It's all about balance.
Like, imagine just for 1 second the reality of Cobra Kai.
Why? Oh, are we asking why there's open containers of gasoline on the deck of this yacht?
Well, I watched Below Deck. There's gasoline everywhere there.
Not on the deck.
No, absolutely not. You would not keep those on the deck. What, for obvious reasons, not the least of which was why are they not tied down? It doesn't matter. Imagine this.
Perfect.
You're Daniel LaRusso. You're Johnny Lawrence. Man, that was an awesome day. You won the Sakai. You're a world champion. You were what? The boat blew up. John Kreese and Terry Silva are dead? Oh, okay.
They
I
don't
guess.
go back to it. Like,
Oh, no.
they don't
We
address
don't
it,
make
which,
reference to it?
Thank God. It doesn't fucking matter. What I do really appreciate about the epilogue, like the little, like, hey, let's just check in with characters. It did everything it needed to do. Like,
Yeah.
fine, whatever. some of the endings I'm happy with. Some of them, I didn't dislike any of them. There's some I'm like, I don't really give a shit about the binary
boys.
bros or whatever.
Yeah, I know,
I
it's
like
like-
that.
Whatever.
Only because they're
Clearly
wearing Real
Caltech.
Genius shirts on, which I love that movie.
I like
and
the little
threw that
song
in
that
there
they
for me.
made,
Yeah.
and that was about it.
The Binary Bros.
But the moment of Daniel sitting there and having the chopsticks and the fly, and he's about to get it, and then Johnny Lawrence fucking gets it, and Cobra Kai. I'm
Yep,
like,
that's
oh
it.
man, I could fight somebody right now. Like, this is so powerful.
He goes like this. Got it. No mercy.
So good.
That was
It's
it.
so
That's the
good,
last
dude.
line.
The Johnny Lawrence we know
The
and love.
Johnny Lawrence.
After my other favorite part of the ending of the show, where you have the creators of Cobra Kai talking about wanting to reboot Back to the
Trying
Future
to
from Biff's point of view.
Trying to will a Back to the Future Netflix show into existence by just
God
putting
bless
it out
them.
to the fans and seeing what happens.
It's so funny because it cuts to them an egregious amount of times.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are they doing? Oh my God, they're doing that. It's so smart. It's so
Shoot your
freaking
shot.
smart, man.
I'd watch it. I mean, I trust these guys now after
Straight
this.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And Back to the Future is one of those where I don't see them trying to. I see them trying to do this with it, where they find an interesting angle, and it's not necessarily Back to the Future in form or in effects or in budget, but in spirit, it is a good successor to it. So I could see them doing this.
Yeah. And I think that it is a joke. I don't think they're actually trying to get Back to the Future
I think
going.
everything's a joke
True,
until it's not
true,
a joke.
True.
But I think this series was
Weren't
a
they-
joke until it wasn't a joke.
Did I miss weren't they talking about the version of it that didn't happen? Like, weren't they talking about the actors that were
They were talking about Biff, Crispin Glover, and Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson.
Glover?
Yeah.
I
So he said,
was
we'll get
forgetting
Crispin
that.
back. And then he said, I know Mike.
Who was-
He wrote something for me, whatever. I talked to him. So.
Who was Marty's actor before?
Oh,
Eric Stoltz?
Yeah.
Eric
I don't think-
Stoltz.
yeah, I don't
okay,
think they mentioned Eric Stoltz.
for some reason I was thinking Crispin Glover was that. I'm wrong
No,
about
Crispin
this.
Glover,
Okay.
of course, remember, was in Back to the Future
Yes.
1, did not want to do 2. They
Mhm.
put the face in there, they hung him upside down, they sued him.
Yeah.
He sued, he won.
Then he
all that
become the
stuff.
hair guy.
Yeah.
The
and
hair
then,
guy.
then he was Willard
Charlie's
with a
Angels.
rat. You're like, well, your career.
Exactly.
There was a vibe.
Reboot Charlie. Put him back in Charlie's Angels.
Put him
Let's get
back,
another
dude.
one.
Let's figure
get
that
the gang
out.
back together.
But yeah, man, that all the little bits towards the end I thought were just like really great, so fan servicey, but like in the right ways. Again, it just felt earned. Stingray.
We got
Each of the
Stingray. We
kids.
have the two guys from the dealership
Yep.
that like are so much in the beginning. You have the like liquor store guys that are there at like the very beginning too. Like
His niece.
yeah, who is
His
actually,
actual daughter.
Which is
Yeah.
his daughter, yeah, which is not Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's daughter.
Mhm. You have his mom back.
Oh, that's right.
The mom
With
did
The
the-
come back.
Karate Kid mom.
Yeah,
Miyagi necklace story, which like
that was ridiculous. Well, we
Okay.
haven't talked about it.
We
gotta
haven't
talk
talked about it. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, first off, before we talk about what I think you want to talk about, the necklace storyline. Clearly, and at this point, it's now been confirmed. They've been teasing that the last season and a half of building up. There's Miyagi has secrets or whatever.
Right.
It was to get Hillary Swank, the next Karate Kid, involved, and she ended up saying no. And it's
Which is
so
so
sad because
sad.
it's the literal one thing that didn't come back, and it's so upsetting. But they wanted to, so they wrote all that. So that's why it was like kind of like a
Was the necklace
Ending.
was the necklace a part of the next Karate Kid?
no,
don't
but like
think so.
there was a
They just wanted her to
when
be
they
a part
found
of it somehow.
Miyagi's little briefcase thing
Mhm.
and it had all the secrets and shit. Like there was references to his last name or something as it was on the tombstone in Next Karate. There was
Right.
enough ties in a dumbass Cobra Kai way
Yeah.
that they were like, if
We're gonna
this
bring
work,
it.
if we can get her, we're gonna run with it. But if we can't, we'll just write it off in some other way. And that's what we got here, which
Look,
was
I get it.
whatever.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
But we got to talk about it.
We got to talk about it. Because Daniel's in his lowest moment here. He's having a crisis of conscience. He doesn't know what to do, whether he wants his team to fight for the Sekai Takai, either that or he was trying. No, yeah. I think that's where we find him, right? And he has a flashback,
A dream.
a dream, really, if you will, of skeleton costumes. And I start popping off. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Because now he's finally realizing that he is Miyagi and he has to fight these people, which is cool. But no. You stupid idiot, Nick. You stupid, dumb idiot. Because we can't have this series without at least one bad facial reconstruction, like
it's so
deep
bad.
fake Mr. Miyagi, which was, I think, a terrible idea.
I hate it.
As you know, I have railed against this in every single movie that has tried to do it. I don't like it. Don't do it. Recast the actor. Give that role. Obviously, you can't do it because Pat Morita is dead. But figure
Rest
out
in
another
peace.
way to do this so that we don't have to, unfortunately.
Even
do
if you
this.
keep him shadow, like if you give him the right
Shadowed.
profile or something like that.
90% of this was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Except
that
for the face
10%,
reveal, yeah.
Just don't do that.
Just
like
don't do
the
it.
amount that we see from behind him, it looked like Miyagi. I believed
Right.
it was Miyagi. It's like that's all that we need. They already did it a little bit in the flashback scene last season,
Yeah.
and like we didn't like it there
Don't
much
like it
either.
there.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
kind
didn't
of a bummer.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't love this scene. I
I loved the scene. I loved the scene. I just think that they flew way too close to the sun on this. They didn't need to do it, and it did not look good. Like
Yeah.
I'm usually not as hard as Nick is in terms of like how Leia looks in Rogue One about her face fucking moving and stuff. Like I can be like, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
This to me was like, this looks bad.
Yeah, it looks bad. I just think we have to. I mean, I got to rail against this for the rest of my life until it's perfect. In which case, I'll recant, I'll recant my opinion on it. But
You know who I was happy to see in the show that I did not expect to see?
Hmm.
Elizabeth Berkley.
Truly bizarre.
I don't know why. Why? What was the point of her character?
I think they're just big Saved by the Bell fans.
mean,
and they were like, let's get Liz Berkley to be in this.
I was reading an interview with the creators, and literally they're just like, I mean, yeah, we just thought it'd be funny to see how Chosen would act around her from Saved by the Bell, and it's like that's so weird because it's not her.
No,
Like,
it's not Jessie
Moon's
Spano.
mom.
No,
Which,
but
can we for a second, Nick? I don't know if you were fully caught
Oh,
up on
we
this.
gotta
Me and
talk
Joey
about
have been
this.
talking about this for the last fucking week.
Mhm.
But at the Cobra Kai finale premiere, they
Debuted?
hard launched a bunch of relationships from the show. And for the
No, I told him.
last couple seasons of the show, you know, we've seen kind of like, oh, they're dating.
We love a
whatever.
showmance.
Do you
Who
know
doesn't?
where I'm going with this?
I do not. No.
You will never guess who's with who. There are 3 couples that
Well,
Of the kids.
of the kid, I was gonna say because I think Ralph Macchio's been married for a long time happily,
Yeah.
and I think William Zabka's married as well. I mean, ooh, interesting.
I'm just gonna tell you.
Yeah,
'cause,
go ahead and tell me, 'cause I don't wanna
you'll
guess.
never guess the combos here.
I hope that the little kid, Sam's little brother, I hope he's getting some
No. Well,
No?
not.
not
not
because
the
that
Liz
kid
Lane.
has very hairy legs now.
Did
Just
they
so you
even?
know.
They barely
He was
show
barely
him. How
in it.
much did they show his legs
because
for Nick to notice?
because they do a series that's like off the mat,
Oh,
which is like a 30-minute long or not even thing, like just recap.
like a post show.
And they put all the kids in their gis, and the gis are like culottes. So when they sit down on stools, it's just showing basically from mid thigh down of just 16-year-old pubescent
Leg
stuff, leg hair. Yeah, it's bad. It's so off putting.
So it's not him. It is. Let's start with Hawk.
Hawk,
right?
okay.
Hawk is in a long-term relationship
Please say it. What?
with
Peyton List.
Tori. I was
Tori.
gonna say Tori. Those two, the heat between those two is
The
just
heat-
palpable. They've never had a single scene together. Seriously, I
That's
can't
so
think
true.
of a
I
single
don't think
moment
that
that,
they did.
Tori and Hawk have
Yeah.
ever been on screen together
No.
and had anything to say to each other. But I love that because I like Peyton List. Good for her. I'm glad she's happy.
Miguel Diaz,
Mhm.
Cholo.
And Elizabeth Berkley.
No,
Close.
Moon.
Elizabeth Berkley's daughter.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Moon being the blonde that is dating the dorky guy,
No.
right? No. Which one's Moon?
She's like the brown hair.
Moon's the like spiritual. She's supposed to be like the hot girl at school.
She dated Hawk? Who did she
Yes,
date in show?
yes.
she did.
Who's
Yeah,
her friend that dates the
still-
other guy?
the blonde girl. I have no
we
idea.
don't know her name.
Okay,
She's
I
not
don't remember.
part
The
of
one
this
that, like-
equation.
yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so Moon and Miguel.
Yes.
Yes.
Which you're like, okay, I can see that. And then the final one,
Mhm.
they
I'm excited.
hard launched that they are engaged. Robbie,
Yeah.
Tanner, whatever his name is, and Samantha LaRusso.
Yes. As well it should be.
As the prophecy is
As
foretold.
the prophecy foretold.
Yes, foretold.
Kind of wild, right?
That is pretty wild.
So much like love blooms on the battlefield.
I mean,
Like-
what are you gonna do? You know, you're on these people 7 days a week,
for
10
years.
hours
What,
for
7
years.
years?
You know,
Crazy, man.
and then they take 8 months off to live their life, but then they come right back.
Come right back.
Tim, you
buddy.
don't know. You never did high school theater. There's a lot of smooching happening back
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Way more smooching than you would
so
ever
much
think.
smooching.
Not
That's
as much
awesome.
smooching as band kids, but
No, band kids are.
I don't know.
No, well, there was always a bus in band kids. There was always like
But then
We-
you have the empty theater for the theater kids.
the theater kids was better.
We just spent 43
Green room.
minutes and we haven't brought up the fact that in the course of one episode, Johnny and Carmen get married and have a child.
They sure do.
They get married in the most Johnny Lawrence fashion of all time, in the sense that, of course, they're walking down the aisle to take my breath away from Top
Yep.
Gun.
Oh my lord.
Yep.
Johnny Lawrence would pick nothing else.
Let's stop because we have to talk about the music because someone got a good music budget for this.
Yes.
They really did.
Oh, Thunderstruck.
We're going to talk about it. There's 3 songs that stand out. One, because I didn't place it at first because it was like a violin version of
Yeah.
it. I was like, wait, what is that? And Dee was like, Nick, it's Take My Breath Away from Top Gun. I was like, yeah, stupid. Why would I not even think? I could have guessed that was going to be what he got married to. Love Carmen, love the relationship, love that all of that storyline was fun for me. And I think great. I think William Zabka played great. Him walking onto the mat when they get introduced to AC/DC's Thunderstruck. But nothing beats Sweet Child of Mine
Oh man.
when he wins the
I know.
tournament.
I know.
They got Guns N' Roses. That's expensive.
Oh,
by
I'm
the way.
sure it is.
That is an expensive song to get for this. I can't name one other time in a series that this song has been used. And it's playing, and you hear him go, "You're all right, Lawrence." It's so good, dude.
It's so good. I'm gonna
Ridiculous.
rewatch the final
I
episode
wanna watch it.
a million times.
I want to touch on where we find Daniel at the end of this, right? He's been grounded. He starts the series, and he's obviously wants to get away from karate as much as possible. He's throwing out the bonsai roots, which are thematically like his link to Mr. Miyagi. The 2 idiots, one of whom is a comic. I forget his name, but they're both hilarious. Like, what the hell's going on? By the end of it, he's like, I'm so glad he has that wonderful moment with his wife, who, by the way, says she's
Dude.
his ride or die.
Oh,
Oh my god. Amanda
Which is
LaRusso.
fantastic. Amanda
One of my
LaRusso
favorites. She is my Netflix
is
icon.
The ride or
And
die.
I-
Is she really?
I think she might be forever. She's been for years. They gave her an update now.
Oh.
I haven't done it yet. I kind of want to keep
got
the
it.
old one,
Well,
but
keep the old one.
it's her with the face paint.
oh my
Because her
gosh.
showing up, riding for karate this hard, and saying ride or die, I'm like, this is so good.
With a sign behind her that says wax on. Anyway,
I love this show.
we find them at the end, and Daniel goes, she's like, how are you? And he goes, you know what? That was wonderful. I think I'm done with karate now. We've done everything we need to do. She goes, yeah, right. This is in your blood. You're gonna be this for the rest of your life. And he goes, I know. I love that she just gets it.
She
Yeah.
gets it.
It's a wonderful moment for them.
Perfectly setting up.
Perfectly setting up the denouement, the epilogue, basically, for the show, which is that Cobra Kai is now open. And just as we sort of found Johnny at the beginning, we find him at the end, a little wiser, a little older, now a world champion. But the words are still on the back wall. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And his interpretation of them is wild, but I believe it. Sure, right? Strike first, offense. I teach offense here. Strike hard. If you're going to punch, you got to punch hard as you can. Try as hard as you possibly can. No mercy. I forget what his rationale was.
Honestly, like that was one of the moments that, like, whatever. I get that they want it. Like, it's no mercy.
want
You
it.
got to keep it.
Yeah.
I would have bet money that they would have changed it to show mercy by the end of it,
Oh.
and they did it.
They
like,
didn't.
but I thought that was going to be I learned from
An
whatever.
evolution, yeah.
But like, because they could have just changed the wall. Changed the wall.
They
thing.
sure
Show
could have.
mercy.
Man, especially since I think part of the wall was bubbling because they had painted over it so many times. God, you got to love this. Oh, dang it. I didn't write it down. He walks around the people, right? And obviously, we've got the line over the block. We've got the Stingray thing. He walks
I
around.
love to have Stingray
I
back.
know.
You know, he's out there doing some crazy other shows, but he always comes back.
Comes back for this with the facial hair. Johnny's walking around and he's like, no mercy, right? Obviously, if you're here and you're in a fight, you gotta show up and you gotta try as hard as you possibly can. And sometimes you gotta show people no mercy. And he goes, but if you guys stick with me, I'm gonna turn you into world champions. You're no longer gonna be a dork like this guy. He's just like throwing shade at the kid with the glasses. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, go get cooler glasses. You don't wear this
Picking
shit
on
anymore." Just picking
everybody.
on everyone, right? But of course, he's like, in addition to that, you're also gonna learn defense. Your membership buys you your membership over to Miyagi-Do, which is across the fucking town. But whatever. Parents would never go for this. Drop my kid off right here. You're my babysitter. But then we see Daniel Russo walking in Miyagi-Do. It's the backyard. He's in the all-white gi with just the weirdest little white booties that they wear. Off-putting.
You get so obsessed.
I
with
know.
this.
Nick has brought this up multiple times, and
Watch
I've
'em.
never noticed.
You can't
the booties.
unsee them. Because when someone wears white boots with a white shirt, like suit, any sort of thing, you look like you're in a cult. Like you look like you're about to drink some punch and everyone's going to die.
I like it.
I don't. It's off-putting to me, but it's perfect for this show. And obviously, he's walking around and he's teaching, and we get to see. And so, the future of Cobra Kai is always and shall always be intrinsically tied to Miyagi-Do, the yin to the yang, the defense to the offense, just everything, of course, and what Daniel's always talked about in balance. That is as Cobra Kai.
That is-
Perfect.
it really is. We didn't talk about one thing that I really want to shout out because like we haven't talked about the show at all this season, even though it's had multiple parts. Zara was incredible.
She like the fancy
She's
social
the
media
influencer?
one.
The Iron
Iron Dragon.
Iron
like,
Dragon
Yeah.
Women's
girl.
champ. Yeah.
Gosh, she's so cool.
Oh my
She's
god.
legit awesome.
I
to
mean,
watch.
to the point that like her fight with Tori was so many leagues ahead of any of the other fights we saw after because she's just so
Isn't
damn
she like
good.
actually?
She's actually a karate world
Yeah.
champion, and like I started following her on social media because I saw some videos of her with freaking sticks, like bow staffs and shit, and
Oh.
it's like.
Like
Oh my god, like
kendo stuff?
you're legit. And like it really is the thing of like, you know, the budget of the show kind of showing of like this doesn't look that great or whatever. It's not that it doesn't look great. It's that we're watching a show about world champion karate people and they're just actors playing.
they can't really.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like
They're not
that's
actual.
where that's
the guy
where
the guy who plays Claw or Wolf rather, not Claw, is legit.
amazing.
I think.
He's from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he can move. That
Yeah.
guy actually has a
So
martial
good.
arts background. And yeah, she was pretty amazing. But my favorite thing about that is they've stuck with the actors. And you know, look, life is hard. You get older. As a person who has done martial arts a lot of my adult life, you know, sometimes you're in shape, sometimes you're not so in shape. Have the kids been in shape for the last 3 seasons?
Some of them.
Some of them have. Have the main characters? Whatever. But my favorite fucking thing they do is that John Kreese, Martin Cove, is older. He's not young anymore, and he doesn't move that well anymore because the man's got to be in his 60s, maybe
Yeah.
70s for all I know.
But honestly, he doesn't really look that much different than he did when he started.
No,
Gotta get
but
one.
there are moments when he is fighting, and they cut to the opposite of him, where it is clearly a 30-year-old man
yeah.
in a wig.
Yeah.
And it's the funniest thing because it reminds me of my all-time favorite goof in Beverly Hills Cop where Eddie Murphy throws someone over a table and it cuts, and I think it's Bubba Smith, like a football player. The man is just a different human being
I
than
love
Eddie
it.
Murphy.
I love it.
But it's perfect because it's so silly. But I do think that I wish that we found the some of like Miguel, for instance. I think he's moving a little slower than he used to. I think he moved a lot better back when he was a bit younger. But it doesn't really matter because yeah, you're right. It sucks because you put. I guess it does kind of matter because you put people up who are like world champion or at least can still move and still train like that against people who don't, and they have to like slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just not as good, but whatever. Like Johnny, like obviously William Zabka's a little older too, so he's not moving like he did back in the day. We'll just put it that way when he was like 18.
It's the most unbelievable thing in the world that he won that fight. I don't give a shit. It was perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No notes.
Who cares? Well,
We'll
again,
add to him.
but again, you want to talk about meta? They even have that conversation where Daniel goes, I should not have won that fight back in 84. You were the better, like Johnny was the better fighter. Johnny had won the All Valley like two times in a row coming into that, right?
God, when they introduced him, the 2-time All Valley
Oh
champion.
my gosh. And even that part it must have been the beginning of the scene when he was like, when was the last time you felt great or you felt perfect? And he was like, 1983.
Yep.
Just like, oh.
And so I love that he was like, I should have won that. He was like, you were the better fighter, but I won because I played, you know, my game. I waited for you to come to me. That kick only works if you, and yeah, obviously all that plays into it. And so it's believable in a completely unbelievable yet believable soap opera world that is Cobra Kai.
And the soap opera world that is Cobra Kai is over. Kind of. We'll be back in 2 months when we see Karate Kid Legends, and we'll see how much it gives a fuck about this show or not. I'm hopeful, but I don't know why. I don't know why.
You know in your heart of hearts that Cobra Kai never dies.
You're right. You're freaking right. Like, do we see Johnny? Do we see Amanda?
Do we see Jaden Smith?
Yes. That's a for sure. That is a for sure.
God, I'm so
Johnny?
excited.
Not so sure.
I mean, you know, again, I know we're wrapping up. I will always love Ralph Macchio, and I will always love William Zabka. William Zabka, of course, was the iconic, quintessential one-note bully for so many movies, right? I just hope that these two gentlemen go on to do more stuff. I hope that they're able to get more shows. I hope that William Zabka is able to have a nice renaissance to his career. Not that he
I
hasn't
hope
been
he
in
gets
stuff.
like the Kihei Kwan kind of
Yeah.
I
treatment.
really do
Yeah.
too, minus the newest movie that he put out, which apparently is getting tanked, getting bad reviews. But I really do. I wish the best for all of these people, and I know that the actor that played Miguel, you know, he was Blue Beetle. That's not.
He might still be.
He might still be. Hopefully, he does actually, because I like him a lot too, and I thought he was good in the role. Yeah. So here's wishing the best to everyone that was a part of Cobra Kai, and to the creators of the series, a heartfelt thank you for shepherding this into reality and willing this into my life. I appreciate you. This series had no business being as good as it was, but you made it and you stuck the landing and you nailed it, and we thank you. For
And
that.
I will watch anything that they do in the future.
I
They've
agree.
earned
Oh,
that.
you get 2 from me.
And by the way,
you can tank the next thing. I'll watch all of it.
they also did American Reunion, the American Pie Reunion,
Oh.
which was awesome. And it makes so much sense because there's the same level of reverence and they just get it. So continue to get it, please. And remember, we'll be back for in review for Karate Kid Legends in a proper in review fashion. I'm trying my hardest, my damnedest to get Josh Makuga on that. He thinks he's going to be able to make it happen. So hopefully in studio, that'll be a lot of fun. But until next time, Cobra Kai
Never dies.